Hello everyone, it's Silvia from Feel Like Tarot. Welcome back to my channel. Today is October 1st at the time I'm filming. I will be probably posting this video tomorrow, the second day of October. October is started and it's officially the month of Halloween. I'm calling it. It's okay to display the decoration. It's okay to buy even more. It's okay to use the darker decks. Everything is fine, everything is wonderful, the vibes are amazing. Even though living in Australia, obviously the vibes are completely different from the northern hemisphere. You guys are going towards the darker days of the year. We're on the opposite end and we're going towards the warmer and brighter days of the year. However, I have made a pact with myself. I absolutely love Halloween and I loved how it felt to celebrate this festivity whilst I was living in the northern hemisphere. And so I've decided that this year I am going to celebrate Halloween together with someone. So it's going to be really interesting because obviously there is something to the weather, there's something to the way in which you dress, the food you eat, the drinks you drink, that is all related to the atmospheric weather. And obviously in Australia we're probably going towards the days in which your coffee is an iced coffee with ice blocks and every single item of food is refreshing and hydrating because obviously it's going to be really warm. And on the other hand, in the northern hemisphere, you're probably really enjoying that pumpkin spice latte with whipped cream on top, or that cocoa, the hot cocoa in front of the fire. Lucky you, I don't have that, but I have decided that this year, this is what I'm going to focus on. And so I'm calling it all of the decorations for the month of October, and all of the videos that I'm going to film and post are going to be dedicated to Halloween. And I'm absolutely in great company. So today's video, it's a VR. It's called Decks for the Descent. And it's a VR to Christy from Green Eyed Tarot. This is a very beautiful theme, the way in which we approach the darker month of the year and the darker days of the year, and we take advantage of that darkness in the outside to try and go reconnect with that part of ourself which is sitting deep within our core self. And sometimes it is a descent, yes, because you need to go deeper. And it's true that no matter where you are in your journey of understanding yourself, your core self, your true self, and your journey towards personal growth, you need some tools, and hence the Tarot and Oracle decks that we always use. You need some tools in order to help you with this descent. Now, for me, the descent is all about understanding what it is within myself that is kind of hidden, it's in the darkness, and it needs to be brought up into the light in order to be able to reflect on it and perhaps meditate and journal. So these decks are the decks that I consider to be the decks that help me doing that. Now you will notice that during the month of October I will post only videos that are related to, let's say, these kind of themes. So it could be Halloween themed videos, as in we look at the whimsical side of Halloween, but it could also be Samhain themed videos where I'm actually taking a look at these kind of decks. But let's start. So I watched a couple of VRs to this video, and I have to say I really loved, especially Sasha Lopez's VR. I love Sasha's choice for the decks, and one of the decks she was actually mentioning that she originally saw in one of my videos is the Mio Im's Tarot. This is by, so Mio Im is a tattoo artist from South Korea. She works a lot on this kind of art, and she's also, like many tattoo artists from South Korea, because in South Korea, in order to be a tattoo artist, you also need to hold a medical license. So there's a lot of tattoo artists that are from South Korea that work traveling around the world and working from tattoo studios from different countries. I know that she was in Australia. I don't remember when, but that's before I even bought her deck. and I was really fascinated to check out her work. I have to say this is one of my favorite tarot decks when it comes to these kind of vibes, and that's the reason why it's here. By the way, you probably have noticed that I'm wearing these nails. So this is the choice of the winner of the giveaway. I posted a video last week in which I was going to give away a indie out of print deck by Sam Brooke. It's called the Penelope's Tarot. And the instruction for the giveaway, to enter the giveaway, were to choose which nails I was going to use for each and every week of October. And so I am following the order of the winner. So this was, I believe, the D set. I don't remember, but I saved it obviously because I'm going to have to move from these nails to a different pair for next week's videos. In any case, they're very long, they're very big. I'm not really used to these kind of size nails. These are press-on nails, by the way, they're not acrylic. I mean, the material is probably acrylic, but they are press-on because I had a terrible experience with the gel nails, whatever they're called in your country. In our country, they're called gel. And I had a terrible experience in removing them, and so I have decided never to use those nails again because I literally damaged my nail bed. However, these ones are not damaging, or at least not as much, but yes, they're not the easiest nails to use, let's put it this way. Okay, so let's have a look at the deck. This is a tarot deck. It's got 78 cards. It is an amazing deck. It is very dark, as you can see. The color palette, I would just say it's very minimalist. We've got, I would say, probably not more than 3 or 4 colors. But it is one of those decks that is extremely powerful. And let me tell you, even though the art style is rather minimalist, you don't need a deck to be busy in order for that deck to be powerful. And I think that each and every one of these images will probably prove me right, because we are seeing so much and we can go really deep when we are interpreting, or when even we're just relating to these cards. So this is the Lover's card. I have talked so many times about the way in which I personally give an interpretation of this card that I feel like I don't need to say much else. Just I want to point out that there is this bond, which is an incredibly strong bond because it's based on love. And this bond is going beyond death. And that is something that is incredibly powerful for me. It's incredibly also emotional because I have lost a lot of people in my life that I really loved. And so knowing that that bond is still there, and there is this card that actually reminds me of that. It's incredibly harrowing, but also very beautiful. So I am very grateful to this deck. Of course, some of the cards, especially in the minors, are a bit pippish. But to be honest with you, even when you look at this card, yes, it is pippish, let's be honest. So it is the Ten of Cups. It is still incredibly beautiful card. And when we think about, for example, even the Six of Hearts, this is so beautiful. The gesture of giving and receiving. So you will recognize the traditional symbolism from the RWS in the Six of Pentacles, the giving and receiving. Obviously, there are 2 hands here, but it's so beautiful because one hand is giving a black heart and the other hand is offering a human heart. There is so much that comes out of these cards. I can assure you the adventure of reading, working, meditating, journaling with this deck is worth the price. I know that this is a rather expensive deck. I also know that there is a version of this deck, I believe, where there's only the majors, so it's majors only available, and I mean more affordable, obviously because you have less cards. However, I do believe that some of the minors here are incredibly deep, and perhaps it is worth splurging if you can. Of course, I'm not pushing anyone. Please understand that you need to feel comfortable in any of your purchases. So this is not to generate FOMO. far from my intention. It is just in order for you to have a look at one that I consider one of my deepest and also darkest, let's be honest, decks that I've got in my collection. So the Mio Im tarot. So the next deck I wanted to show you, it's actually a pairing. So I'm going to pair the Darkness of Light tarot by, I think it's a Tony Di Mauro. So I knew that this person, Tony, must be of Italian descent. Di Mauro is a common Italian family name. However, I'm not just saying that because of the name. Obviously, we know that there's a lot of Italians that migrate, hence even myself, I'm an Italian person that has migrated to Australia. But what I mean with that is that the titles on the majors are actually in Italian, and so that's the reason why I think that Tony must be of Italian descent. So this is a particular version of this deck. If you have the Darkness of Light, you will probably think that there's something different, and indeed there is. This was called the As Is edition because there's a few, let's say, flaws in the production here and there. I absolutely don't mind it, because what happens is that this deck is showing white borders as opposed to black ones. And what I believe happens when you look at this card is that because, or thanks to the white borders, you actually have more brilliant colors, or at least this is my reaction to the deck. This is the idea that I gather every time that I use this deck. And I want to pair it with this oracle deck, which is called the Vast Enlightenment cards. This is available on Tevada. So if you're not familiar, Tevada is a reselling store that promotes artists from Southeast Asia. I believe it's just Southeast Asia. It could be from China as well. It is mostly directed to a Chinese speaking market, as you can imagine. It's also because you can see it here from the keywords or titles on the cards. But we do have the English versions for it. And even the booklet, it does come with both an English, an English part and a Chinese part. Now, someone suggested that these two will go really well together, and they actually do. I have to say there's been a couple of comments on, is this AI generated art? I think that there is some AI contribution. I don't know how much of it there is. I also know though that within the realm of using AI, so obviously we need to, I personally want to wait for more regulations before completely embracing it, because I just don't really understand the dynamics behind it 100%, and I don't want to form an opinion without knowing what this actually means for the artistic industry. So how do they use the images that are used in the cards? Do they sample from images from the same creator, or do they just go all over the internet and sample from that? I know that there's a lot of artists using AI, saying that they only feed their own images, so images that they own the copyrights to the AI tool, that then forms other images, creates other images with very similar themes. So obviously something that is very easy to recognize as images belonging to that particular creator. I don't know how that actually works, because I've read a lot of comments saying that AI as a tool, even if you do fill it with just your images, it still samples from other images, or perhaps it samples from ways to let's say do some kind of a digital manipulation of the images themselves. And for example, let's talk about black and white. So obviously it's sampling from black and white images, or the way in which you regulate the black and white in the image from other examples online. So does that mean that it's infringing the copyright of other creators? Probably. But as I said, I'm really curious to see, because I have to say, I have seen in the past couple of years a lot of governments around the world coming out with, let's say, gimmicks in, like, for example, YouTube. Nowadays in YouTube, we creators have to fill in, we have to declare if we're using AI, when we use if we use deep fake, for example. So if we are misrepresenting, or if we are making something or someone look or sound different than what they originally looked or sounded. I don't know if that's clear. It is a kind of a complex concept, and to be honest with you, sometimes it feels like they're doing it on purpose to complicate things even more, just for you, in order to not understand what really is asked. When you're doing this kind of declarations. I do not use AI, so I always click no, because, well, it's kind of an easy thing. But I know of a lot of other people that may actually use AI not for artistic purposes, for other purposes, and they're kind of finding it difficult to navigate these kind of new prompts that we received from YouTube. I'm interested to know, please, let's keep the conversation kind. Let's show kindness and open-mindedness to each other. I know that there's a lot of animosity, especially from creators, and, you know, rightly so, about their images being stolen. So what I want to hear from you is, do you think that one day, if we have really good regulations about it, that is defending the rights of the creators, you know, from property theft and stuff like that, do you think that we're actually going to use AI on a daily basis? Because I know, for example, a lot of people, they put a document together, so they use AI, or, you know, you can use AI for a number of things nowadays. ChatGPT, for example, is a very common example for this. So going back to the deck, because, sorry, I went off on a tangent there, and I didn't really mean to, but it's because this has come out when looking at these cards. I don't actually know whether there is AI or not. I believe that even there might be, but there might be a lot of humans also working on the cards. Personally, I like it. I like the way it makes me feel. I like the way in which I use this deck, and I really like the way in which it pairs up with the Darkness of Light Tarot. And these two decks together, they really give me the possibility to dig deeper into myself, understanding myself and the way in which I feel sometimes. So, for example, if we look at this combination, the Constraint card from the Oracle between the two sixes. So obviously we're looking at the number 6 in numerologically speaking, we're looking at that sense of transaction. However, when we're looking at the alchemical elements of these two cards, we got water here and we got fire. And water and fire, as you know, they are the opposite on the spectrum. So we're looking at some time of constraint. And the constraint comes from the fact that we have two opposites that are trying to pull at the same rope. And obviously this is triggering some kind of conflicts within myself. Do I need to constrain the fire, or do I need to constrain the water? So as you can see, this is very deep. It can go really, really deep, or as deep as you want it to go. I'm not saying that the decks or the Tarot and Oracle decks for the Descent are necessarily taking you deeper and deeper. I'm just saying that it may not necessarily something that you can see on a surface level. You kind of have to dig a little into yourself in order to understand where the darkness is and why do we have darkness in these areas of our life. So these two decks together, absolutely fantastic. And the next deck I wanted to show you today is one of my favorite decks of all times. And the reason is because it's this one here, is the Joker Tarot, which is by, well, let's say the illustrations are by Corrado Roy. This is a Kickstarter from last year. They funded in, I guess, I don't know. Sorry guys, I don't remember when exactly. I have backed so many Kickstarter this year in particular that they kind of all become a blur. In any case, this is a Lo Scarabeo Kickstarter, which is a bit odd because Lo Scarabeo is obviously a publishing company from Italy. And I believe, although I do not have any source about that, so it's just me. But I believe that sooner or later they will produce this deck, or they will, let's say, release this deck for mass market purposes. If they do, I highly recommend it. The Joker Tarot. Corrado Roy, as I said, is the illustrator. One of the reasons why I love this deck is because Corrado Roy is one of my favorite illustrators of all time. Look at this card. This is the Nine of Swords, and yes, it is incredibly creepy. It is scary. At the same time, though, the more you look at it, you understand the pain. This is a card that most summarizes pain. It could be psychological pain, it could be mental pain, it could be physical pain, it could be metaphysical pain. Pain it is, and sometimes there's no denying that human beings, our condition is to sometimes go through pain. Is pain something that makes us miserable? Is the misery that we feel once we are going through pain even stronger than the physical pain itself? Sometimes I ask myself that. I do suffer from chronic pain, and it is something that has been with me for many decades already. I had an accident on the 18th of July 2004. I fractured my back, my pelvis, and a few other bones. It was incredibly painful, but more so than that, the rehab has been painful. Getting back to walk was painful. But I have to tell you this, even more painful than the physical pain was the idea that I was going through that. And so was knowing that I had to accept it, and that was the only way to go back to some kind of a seeming normal kind of status of walking and running, etc. It is the way in which your mind is bending the pain and feeding off the pain itself that makes the pain miserable, that makes you miserable when you're feeling pain. So it is something that is extremely, at the end of the day, you're still feeling pain. But I can assure you, if you suffer from chronic pain as I do, it does become philosophical at the same time as physical sometimes, because you spend so much time of your life in pain that you ask yourself, you can't help it but reason about it and what it means for you. Is pain defining you? Are you letting pain defining you? So it is a fascinating concept, even though I have to say something that obviously all of us are different. We're all in different parts of our journey. I have accepted the chronicity. Is that a word? Probably chronicity. Okay, I have accepted the fact that my pain is chronic. It has become chronic because my neurons are constantly firing, as if even when I'm not in actual pain, they're constantly firing by thinking that I am. So it's something that, of course, sometimes it makes me miserable. Does that make me a worse or a better person? I believe that it makes me, or I want it to make me a better person, because I can more easily sympathize with someone who's in pain. It made me a compassionate person, among other things. And this is something that when I look at this deck, especially the Nine of Swords that we've just seen, it definitely invites me to reflect on that. And it's something incredibly powerful. And I'm always very grateful to this deck for what the gift that it's given me, the gift of trying and understand who I am when I'm in pain. So obviously this deck is just, this is a way in which I personally relate to this deck, but not everyone is relating to different decks in the same way. So if you have this deck, just let me know in the comments below. If you have this deck, do you like it? How do you use it? Because it is an incredibly interesting deck. The concept behind it is very difficult. It talks about the Joker being the only sane person amongst human beings. And I really love that concept too. So the Joker Tarot. The next deck is probably a bit of a whimsical deck or a funny one, because it's the Rainbow Brain Skull Oracle deck. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm using this deck with my members, and we read the energies of the week with this deck. So I do a weekly video in which I pull one card for each alchemical element of the zodiac sign. So for one card for the fire signs, one card for the water signs, one for the air signs, and one for the earth signs. And I read this card and I tell my members what this card conveys as a message, as what we can read as energies for that particular week. And I have to say, this deck, I know that it's one of the Halloween-ish kind of decks, and it's whimsical, it's funny. Some of the messages are actually very smart, they're really cool. There is a lot of humor. It is, however, very dark humor. And you will see what I mean with some of the cards, because I mean, sometimes I believe that we, as human beings, we can look at something and have ambivalent feelings about what we're looking at. Sometimes we're looking at something that is making us laugh, but it's a kind of a sad laugh. Perhaps we can relate to the card. Perhaps we know something that relates to the card, or someone that relates to the card, but in the same way in which we would probably tell a sad story. I don't know, one of the cards that I feel like really shows this aspect of whimsical but sad at the same time is this one. I used to live in fear, so I know the area well. Yep, hasn't changed much. So I love the fact that the lexicon itself, the choice of the words, and also the image, obviously, is kind of making us not necessarily laugh, but perhaps is making us smile at the same time. And it's definitely asking us not to take this too seriously. But at the same time, if you think about the concept of knowing that you used to live in fear and now you're back, that is actually very chilling. So this is a deck that really embodies that kind of concept. Or, for example, the work is whatever uncomfortable thing that is in front of you right now at this moment. And look at what it looks like, a probably, I don't know, like it's coming out of a horror movie. And there's the majority that this card is showing you is definitely conveying that kind of sentiment. So I love control. Wish I had some. You know what I mean? I mean, it's very witty. There is a lot of witticism in this deck at the same time, but it's also very showing you some very dark idea. There you go. Too many ideas, same as no idea. And you feel the struggle of this person to keep all of these ideas in. Every time, like, exist, choose one to move towards. Really beautiful. There's a lot of really deep concept coming out of these cards. The messages are very, very poignant and very, very deep. You can do a lot of journaling, meditation, and that's the reason why, together with my members, we decided to use this deck for the month of October, because we wanted something like this. Me, also me, also me, also me. I am not the same person every single day, every single moment of my life. I have to accept that sometimes I am like this gray person, but sometimes I'm also like this rainbow color person. So I really love this. I love this deck. I love all of the messages in the cards. It's a very chunky deck, so you got a lot of cards. The book, the guidebook is very interesting as well, but I have to say you could use the cards without the need of the book, let's say, to in order to be able to relate to the cards. You're not supposed to always be happy. Let happy sleep. This is such an amazing card. I pulled this card for myself a couple of days ago. I don't know if you have this app. I have an iPhone, so I have Apple Photos or whatever they're called, and iPhotos. And this app, sometimes you wake up in the morning and I look at my phone and I have memories, and so they send me memories. That the app itself has an algorithm that picks up photos that I've taken that particular day but throughout different years, and that makes a collage or makes a memory, and then I look at this memory. And in today's memory, or a couple of days ago when I actually pulled this card, there was this really close friend of mine who passed away for cancer, and I had this photo of her, and I just immediately was sad, because this time of the year we feel that we're closer to the veil. The veil is thinning. I particularly am very sensible to these kind of things, and if you want one day, I'll tell you about a few experiences that I've had. But I was very sad, and then I pulled this card. I was trying to fight the sadness, and then I pulled this card and said, you know what? It's okay to be sad. It is okay to be sad today. And so that day, I just dedicated the entire day to this friend of mine, and how much she meant to me, and how much I miss her. And there's nothing that, I cannot do anything about it. I will always miss her. And so it's okay sometimes to let happy sleep. You see how really powerful this deck is. So this is the Rainbow Brain Skull Oracle. So the next deck is by an Australian author, so I'm really happy to promote this. It's by Sophie Elvari. It's called the Deeper Self Oracle. It's an indie deck. Sophie, I believe she's in Canberra right now, but she has a really nice Etsy shop, and you can get in touch with her if you want to purchase this deck. I know that a few of you have purchased this deck after I've shown it in a couple of videos. The reason why I am so enthusiastic about this deck is because this is a deck that I can finally use to pair it up with the Bonfire Tarot, which is coincidentally also by an artist that lives in New South Wales, so in Australia, which is Gabby Angus West. And I have the original Bonfire Tarot, but because the Deeper Self Oracle has a glossy finish, I'm actually using the previous mass market edition of this deck, which is also with a glossy finish. I know that there's a new version of this deck, mass market, that has a, is it linen? I don't have it, but I believe it's a linen kind of finish. And the original one, so the indie one, actually had a matte cardstock. So I actually, in this case, when I'm pairing it up right now, I actually prefer the glossy edition. So as you can see, these two together are just absolutely perfect. I love the way in which the colors are complementary. There are really saturated, very beautiful colors in both these decks. And they do share a black background, which is obviously making the colors pop out even more. And as you can see, whereas the Bonfire Tarot is a very fiery deck, obviously the Bonfire, at the same time, it is very versatile in the sense that when you pair it up with such an airy oracle like the Deeper Self Oracle, it makes it like a very balanced kind of reading, but at the same time some of these cards are incredibly potent. So as you can see here, we don't have keywords, which would normally be a bit of a deal breaker for me for an oracle, because I really love having keywords, not even titled, really keywords, in order to understand the interpretation of the author of the deck itself, but also the way in which I can relate to the image on the card. However, this oracle deck is incredibly, and I mean incredibly, intuitive. And to be honest with you, had there been keywords, I don't know if I would have actually followed the keywords themselves, because I do have a lot of interpretation. I have a lot of inspiration when I look at these cards, and I really believe that it is the way in which this oracle works best for you, in my practice at least, the way in which I work with it. It is really, really incredible. Even by itself, I have to say, I love to pair it up with the Bonfire, simply because I love any excuse to use the Bonfire Tarot, which is absolutely fantastic. And you know, it's amazing because these two characters even look very similar. So these two persons on the card. So there are a lot of similarities here. There is a conversation between these two decks that is actually very, very fascinating. And sometimes, as I like to say, when a combination works really well, I feel like I almost need to disappear. I'm just a hand that is flipping the cards. And I like to focus on try and listening in to what the message is. And it is an incredible experience, I have to say. So absolutely loving these two decks and what they do for me. So we're talking about the Deeper Self Oracle by Sophie Elvari and the Bonfire Tarot by Gabby Angus West. The last couple of decks which I'm also going to show you together are the Tarot V and Dante's Inferno. I absolutely love these two decks together, and this is where you can see my creepy vibes at work, because I really love pairing these two up because of how dark they are. It doesn't matter that it's something that sometimes I ask myself, what does that say about me? That's my own problem. But then again, you know, it's you do you and I do myself, and I really love these two together. I do have some parts of myself that I like to think I enjoy the darkness. I like to think that I find meaning within it. And if these two decks help me by achieving just that, then I'm all the more grateful for it. But these two, I'm just warning you, they are very dark. I mean, it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I completely understand if you don't like it. You don't have to like them. And it's not, I don't want you to think that my idea of the scent is to, as I said at the beginning of this video, you don't have to use dark decks. It works for me. I use dark decks because that's what's really working for me. But if you have a different way to relate to this kind of personal practice, then absolutely do it your way. And it's perfect because it's something that works for you. For me, this is these two decks together. It is not the same author. So one is by Paolo Barbieri, the Oracle, and one is by, I believe, Alejandro Colucci, the Tarot. So it's not the same artist. But you can't deny that there's a lot of common elements in the art style of these two artists, and I really, really like that both of them are very dark. Obviously, the Dante's Inferno is based on the 9 circles of hell. I have been studying Dante at uni, and I have to say, the Inferno, when you read Dante's Inferno, it's actually really dark. It is some of the punishments, guys. I mean, the fantasy, in order to conceive some of the stuff that you read in Dante's Inferno, this guy was into dark stuff, let me tell you. And, you know, to think that when it was written, obviously we're looking at the 14th century. So it's obviously something that is kind of shocking, you know, but at the same time, it's fascinating, or at least I find it fascinating. I know that it's not for everyone. Pairing these two up obviously leads you down a very specific kind of path. You may at a certain point feel that there's absolutely no hope. However, at a certain point, you will find that when you accept the darkness, they do their work. And the work of the darkness is to define those aspects in order for you to one day be able to accept them and bring them back up to the light. It's almost the concept of chud. So if you have watched my channel for any length of time, you will know that I really believe and I study the practice of chud in Buddhism. And the practice of chud, as illustrated by Maciej Lapdran, is about not fighting your demon, but recognizing the existence of your demons within yourself and finding a way to actually live with your demons, accepting their existence, not fighting them, because fighting them just brings even more anxiety. And so once that you accept their existence or coexistence within yourself, that is the way in which you will find the possibility to move on. And I believe that these two decks together, for the images that they show, really represent this concept. They embody that concept really well. And so I really enjoy looking at these images. Obviously, I will not be doing this in a very bright day, in a day in which I went to the beach for a swim, because I have a completely different state of mind. And perhaps this is the time of the year, you know, when, at least if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, this is the time of the year in which this is what you're looking at, what you're craving, the darkness of these images. And that works for me. So in any case, this is something that I really appreciate. These two decks together are absolutely gorgeous. Really, really love the art style. That was it for today. It was an amazing VR. Thank you so much, Christy, for creating this. It gave me the possibility to show some of my darker decks and the way in which I actually work with them. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. But in any case, if you have, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me because it helps me grow my channel, and when I grow my channel I can post even more videos for your enjoyment. For now, have a great day.